All right, so, if anyone's recording this meeting, please notify me at this time. Okay, we have, like, Jim Geisman's here, Gene Wall's here, Sebastian Gutwein here, Jeff Sauzer is here, but not as an official member. also see we have a couple of other people, Stephanie and Kennedy on the Zoom. Great. The election of chair and clerk. So I think that's
Yeah, there was I don't think there has been a meeting since July, and per your code in the city code is you have to do a annual reorganization every July. And so this is your first meeting since then, so time to do it. One thing to note is that there is a clerk that's actually supposed to be elected, and I think I kind of envision that the clerk would be the minute taker for this committee. So if anyone wants to take on that duty, they could accept a nomination for that. But first is the chair.
That's a
so
tough job. We wander all over the place. I don't know how you do it, Bosch.
do what? The minutes?
Minutes.
Oh, you did a good job when you did it, Jim.
Yeah, well.
Jim, do you want to be chair? I can be clerk.
What was that thing about rock and hard spot? Gene, you're. Oh my. Sure, I'll be clerk. I was clerk on the Board of Assessors, so fortunately, I never had to take notes.
Okay, so we need to make a note. I need someone to make a motion on this.
For the chair first.
I move that Boss be the chair and Jim be the clerk.
Okay. Let's start with me being the chair and vote on that one. All in favor?
Aye.
Then any discussion on Jim being clerk? No, all in favor?
Aye.
All right,
This is a case of I didn't sit down fast enough. Okay.
You got some paper, Jim, for the minutes? Awesome.
And we started the meeting at 5:04. Okay. Election of officers.
And we will have the recording. You don't want to rely on it too hard, but if there's something you miss in the moment, you can always look at that later and fill it in.
Okay, all right.
yeah, we can keep them brief. They don't have to be super detailed. Important stuff.
Mhm.
Okay. We do not have any minutes from our last meeting. See, any public comment, Stephanie or Kennedy?
Stephanie Duclos, Chapman Street, Greenfield. I am super concerned about the traffic on that, and I don't know who to approach about the consistent issues we have with traffic and speed regarding Chapman Street. And with other projects have recently come to our neighborhood, we see an incredible increase in traffic. And I'm not quite sure if this is the correct commission or if I need to go to a different commission, but I just wanted to express some concerns because I really think it's necessary for speed humps on our road to slow the traffic down. We generally have people driving at least 35 to 50 miles an hour on a regular basis to use it as a cutoff road. And
Stephanie, can you tell me where on Chapman you're noticing this?
right after the skate park where it almost like it hits the down where people can start picking up speed, and that crosswalk isn't well lit, and the speed is incredible by our house. It's literally, you can hear the cars rev up right before I get right before you get in front of my house.
Right, so would you say like between Main Street and Arch Street?
Main,
good.
I would say right around Pleasant,
Right around
right
Pleasant.
where it all intersects. Pleasant,
Okay.
Arch, Chapman, it is, well, you can hear them just revving up the engines to go as
Okay.
fast as they can down the street. So,
Okay.
you know, there are real concerns, you know, even going all the way down to the Allen Street. It's a straight shot and people just speed on a regular basis, and it's getting more and more congested as downtown's getting more and more congested. People are using Chapman Street as their cutoff.
Right. Okay.
And so I just wanted to bring that here and potentially wherever else I needed to bring it. But thank you for letting me speak. You guys are doing a
Yeah.
good job.
And your one of your proposals would be some sort of way to
Speed.
slow traffic, such as a speed bump.
Speed hump. I guess
Hump,
apparently
yes.
there's a difference between a bump and a hump.
There is, that is true, yep.
So a hump is more amenable to, I guess, public safety.
Uh-huh.
So I would, you know, any way that we could get the traffic to slow down. We've tried the sign that they put on our street. That worked for a little while. We definitely, when there's a police presence over by King's Gym area, if you know where I'm talking, it's like beyond Allen. When there was a police officer there and they were nabbing a few people, traffic seemed to slow down a little bit more, but on a consistent basis, it's just out of control.
Okay.
So, you know, with all the potential developments coming to, you know, Greenfields Market and the housing development above it, you know, the concerns with the turn into Chapman Street, those parking spaces really should be eliminated. On the, I guess when you're turning from Main Street, it would be on the right-hand side.
Right,
Right.
because it's so narrow there. So you
Oh,
mean,
it's, yes, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, Chapman Street really needs to be looked at as far as traffic is concerned, so
yeah.
that's,
Isn't
Go
a
ahead.
lot of this, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I just didn't know if this was more discussion or more, just public comment, because I was waiting to hear, you know, maybe your thoughts on it, and I will close my public comment at that point. If you guys, you know, maybe have some ideas of how we could mitigate it, that would be great. Thank you.
The parking on the right side of Chapman, isn't that gonna go away because there's a truck turn into you know, the new Greenfield Market?
I'm not 100% sure. I know when they were doing the studies, when they were doing the parking and the studies for Greenfields Market, I did express my concerns to George and George T. I'm not 100% how to pronounce his last name. And to the developers about, you know, really looking at that spot. And then my concern became, well, if we took out that, then it became more, you know, of a free way to pick up some more speed. So that I was
Yeah.
having mixed feelings about it because,
Mm.
you know, now we're opening it up a little bit more and maybe they're going to, but the speed really is a major concern. And I've lost a couple animals. I've seen people hit. My car has been hit. It's just out of, you know, I don't know what the solution is other than slowing the traffic down in some capacity.
Right.
Thank you.
Stephanie, what's the difference between a speed hump and a speed bump?
Apparently the height of it, maybe. George was telling me that there was a difference, and which I didn't know because I said speed bump, he said speed hump, I said
Yeah.
whatever works.
I think a speed hump is a lot longer, right?
Yeah.
So rather
Yeah,
than,
and
you
and
know, so think of it like a raised crosswalk, right?
Mhm.
correct,
Yeah.
correct.
Now I understand. When there was a sign talking about your speed is, did that have any effect? Steph?
So I have a proposal here that we table this till next month or something, and maybe, I don't know, Kristen, if you could reach out to the I don't know, put this concern to the police to see whether, they could maybe patrol a little bit more, right? If that is a concern, I don't know.
Yeah, I can talk with DPW, get their thoughts. Also, see if they can kind of coordinate with the police as well. See what the kind of best way to kind of oversee the area would be. I can also look into, at this point, that I'm hoping there's probably a pretty finalized plan for that parking on that right side, part of the co-op project. I remember, I don't know for sure, but I remember them talking about changing some kind of parking there. So I think Stephanie and Jim were both right. There is a change that's happening there, I believe.
And it's always a balancing act, right? And when it's narrow, people go slow. But then it feels dangerous, right? Because you're squeezing cars through there, but it does slow people down. Anybody else have anything on that? Kennedy, do you have anything to say on your? Where's my agenda go? Sorry, 1 second. There we go. Too many tabs. Okay. Great. New business, role of parking traffic commission. What is our role? What do we do? So we are, I think that's you put in there, we are a advisory committee to the mayor. It does say in the bylaws, right, that we are theoretically supposed to put in an annual report.
Yeah.
But they, I think one time that happened, since I've been on the commission since the last 15 years or something. So I guess that's a question whether we want to, if that is a valuable and valid thing, we can look into whether we want to do that. Kristen, does it say what we're supposed to provide there?
Yeah, so it actually is pretty very specific about what kind of should be in the report. So let's go 10 things. Number of parking spaces owned by the town, and those that are owned privately in the commercial zone. Quantity of revenue generating meters, revenue generated by those meters, how many malfunctioning meters there are, the amount of revenue generated by parking ticket violations, amount of revenue lost to parking spaces that are not metered, the amount of revenue unpaid from parking ticket violations, revenue generated by fines, cost to maintain the meters and spaces, and the number of parking meter spaces that accommodate handicapped individuals and vehicles.
This is
Honestly,
all
I'm pretty
in the,
sure I could probably gather most of this. I just recently got access to the revenue figures. So if this is something you want to prepare as a committee, I can get most of the raw data for you.
Jean, did you have something?
I was just going to say that looks like, it sounds like something Christian needs to do
Yeah.
versus us. We have no access to any of that information.
And is that the same, is that stuff in the annual report or anything, or the budget?
It's in the budget book. I don't know if it's not portrayed like all right next to each other like
Right.
this. It'll be in different areas. But yeah, for the most part, most of that is probably, especially the financial stuff, obviously is already in there.
So is that something that would happen in conjunction before? Yeah, I guess the question is like the timing on that. Is it like if you were preparing that before and then we were giving it to some sort of somebody who was then preparing the
I-
budget or something would get, or
I
vice
think,
versa.
I think it's just a report for the mayor, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, yeah,
And that we could give it to the council if we wanted to. But that's my understanding of these reports.
okay.
Boy, the council has so much stuff on its plate. I just give it to the mayor and the mayor can pass it on if she wants to, but
Right.
I mean,
So,
it isn't clear to me how this information is gonna be used.
Well, it would be nice for us to have access to this information once a year.
Well,
yep, it would. I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree, but beyond us.
Right.
Well, it's in the, it does seem to be like, we have one job. And it seems to be that report, so we might as well do it, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I can work on gathering these. Many of them I should be able to gather really quickly. There might be some that might take a little longer, especially like the count of spaces, especially the private ones. I think we can probably figure that out for sure though. So I will do my best to have most of that data gathered before the next meeting.
And in the parking, was it in the parking? Some of the numbers were they in the parking?
Yeah, a lot of it will be in the parking study already, and it might just need to be tweaked.
Right,
Slightly.
and so the question is like, if a major thing happens, someone adds a parking lot, or if parking lot gets taken away, then we can keep that up to date by adjusting it, right?
And we need to know how much money we're losing. by
Making, you
not-
mean, Jane, making,
Okay. By all of the places that are low rental or free.
yeah.
I think that's an important number to know.
How, I'm wondering, okay, so we do that and we incrementally upgrade the numbers in terms of parking spaces. Is that what you had in mind, Bosh?
Yes,
Okay. But at some point, it's sort of like doing backups with your computer. You can do a lot of incrementals, but at some point you got to do a full. And I'm wondering whether we need a full assessment, every 5 years or whatever it is.
yeah. We can do it up
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
There you go.
And the parking study kind of was that. I mean, we're about to talk about it, but a lot of the counts on that were kind of updated and made very precise. So there will be small changes, but you pretty much have those numbers. That's like your 5 year, like you're talking about.
Yeah, that would be the 5 year full backup.
Yep.
so to speak.
Exactly.
But how do we incrementally change it? I guess we know when parking spaces are going away. I mean, it's that sort of thing. And where's the information going to come from?
Christian,
Yeah, that kind of comes to me because I've been made the city's parking policy coordinator, and one of the things that's in my job description around that is working with the DPW to maintain the inventory of parking spaces in downtown. And so ideally, if DPW is making a change or is aware of a change, or I become aware of a change, keeping it all on one GIS map to keep that updated, and that'll be our true source of information.
Got it. Thanks.
my question would be based on the history of this commission. Mayor Martin encouraged us and had lots of people come and report to us and included us in all of the projects. And Mayor Weidegartner never even had us meet and didn't care what we thought. Shouldn't we find out what Mayor DeSargo wants from us? Instead of, is this a useless commission or?
That's a great question. Yes, how do we go about doing that?
We ask her to come to a meeting and tell us what she wants from us, I guess.
Right,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, I can reach out. I do know that this regular meeting time I think will conflict with some kind of meeting. I just saw it on my calendar. There was 2 meetings for me. I think it was one the mayor is also going to. So you might need to figure out another date for next month if you want it to be next month.
Well, I
But-
don't see any point in figuring out our role without her giving us a role.
You know, one of the things we can always ask Jenny, well, what would you like to see? But I think the most important question is, what are you gonna do with the information that we have? How is that gonna be used?
Well, that's what I'm saying. We need to have a role in why gather information and why give input
Okay,
based on the last 4 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I think, so I feel like the next step with that, Jane, I think that's a great idea. The next step with that would be for Christian to reach out to the mayor, see if we can come up with a date for next month where that would work.
Yep,
For,
I'll see if the mayor can attend a future meeting.
yeah, so see if this, you know, our regular scheduled meeting actually works, or if not, we can figure out another time.
Yep.
Great. So, I guess the next thing that's on the agenda there, after the annual report, is what role in downtown projects. And I think, so I guess the question is, we could ask ourselves is, you know, what role do we want to have? And then we can figure out how that works with the mayor as well. So, you know, the Main Street redesign, I know we talked about that a lot. I know Jeff was very interested in being a part of that. I don't know where we're at right now with it. And so I'd be curious to see whether people still have an interest as a commission in being involved in that redesign, if the mayor agrees.
Well, we also need to know if we are doing the permit parking or now the library lot is free, I understand. What are we charging for the parking? You know, there's a multitude of things.
Yep.
We need to run through the mayor to see what our role is.
Yeah, I agree. And we do have some of those things on the agenda today, right? Library parking lots. So we can start by saying, you know, thinking about what we're interested, what we feel about those things and where we feel like we're worth pushing for, right? And so we have something to, you know, it's a little bit of a two-way street there, so we can figure out what we want to be pushing forward and see how the mayor is willing to work with us. So.
Gosh, a perspective there for the
Yeah.
commission would be, to me, the role we could suggest to the mayor is to represent the kind of the big picture when parking issues are happening. Because I think a lot of times the public comment otherwise is from people who live right next door, have a very specific concern, which is perfectly valid. But then there's also just the big picture backdrop of what is, you know, how should parking operate more broadly downtown or along Main Street or wherever else. And so we can bring that view to the table.
Yeah, that sounds great. Jeff, I agree.
I
Gene-
totally agree.
Okay, Gene's nodding. Great. Good. Thanks, Gene. Jim, what do you think?
I was trying to look at something. Repeat what we were just talking about, please.
So Jeff was just saying that he feels like our role is really to keep in mind the big picture around parking. So that, you know, because there are, you know, Stephanie, as Stephanie shows, like, you know, people have very specific, you know, individual concerns about parking that have to do with them, and our job is really to look at the whole picture and advise the mayor on the whole picture.
Yeah, I think I agree with that, but I think the basis for forming that big picture comes from public comments, what you hear, what we think, you know, that sort of stuff. So.
I agree.
Okay.
So, the next thing on the list here is the Okay, so I guess, did we finish that thought? Do, what is our role during the Main Street redesign? Um, So in the past, what I've always said is, the more we can have plans in front of us, that we can make suggestions on that can give to the mayor. And the more that communication can happen. And the earlier the better, as far as the design process is concerned, so that we can have that kind of back and forth and understand what's happening and hopefully, use our experience and history with parking in Greenfield to guide that as best we can.
Yeah, I think there is gonna be kind of like a next step, whatever percentage it'll be at pretty soon, I think this spring. So if those designs come out, I'll see if, make sure I can get my hands on them and then send them out to all of you, and then you can talk about them at a meeting. I think that probably, like you're saying, would be a good idea.
And in the past, we would have talked to the engineer or Marlo or somebody.
Yeah.
With our thoughts so that we were making a difference. Versus talking among ourselves and then going home.
Yeah, no, I can make sure, if there's like that kind of meeting where you're talking about very specific plans, see if we can have someone from engineering or the deputy or Marlo himself could attend. That'd be a good idea.
Well, that's an enormous project, and I'm wondering that whether parking is really just a nit relative to tearing up the streets and screwing up commerce.
Parking and traffic, parking and traffic commission here.
Yeah, no, I understand
Yeah,
that.
that's definitely gonna be a traffic. The maintaining the
I
flow
am-
of,
No, I understand that, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying, how important is that relative to the other issues that the downtown restructuring
yeah,
involves?
I agree, but Jim, we are the Lorax of parking.
Okay,
I think it's our job
Who's
to,
gonna speak? Who's gonna speak for the parking?
I think it's our job to point out the problems that we foresee.
Yes,
And it's the mayor's job to make the decision on what to do. Or to take it to the council or whatever, but that we should be available to point out problems that we see from our experience in Greenfield parking.
yeah.
and what about, aside from public comment in a meeting, what about getting public input, whether that's via email or, ad hoc conversations? I mean, it seems to me that information from the public ought to make its way into our deliberations beyond just people who are inclined to attend a meeting.
Don't you think that's up to the mayor, that she should encourage people to bring problems to us or not? I mean, to me, that again goes back to what the mayor wants our duty to be.
Yeah, okay, I'm with you.
Christian, is it true that there'd be some public meetings associated with each of those design milestones too?
Yeah,
In general?
they have had meetings very specifically about the Main Street redesign earlier, and then I believe there will continue to be public meetings as they make those steps. So yeah, it's kind of a fine line to walk where people should attend those meetings, but also be involved with the parking and traffic and kind of making sure you guys are also aware of those things. So yeah, but yeah, you're right.
And I think the public meetings are mandated, aren't they?
Mhm.
By whoever's giving us the money.
Yep.
So yes, what I'm hearing is we would like to be involved as much as we can. But that makes sense, and we would like to do what we can to help the mayor move it forward in a way that will be successful.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what we would like to do.
Any other comments on that? All right, the next thing on the agenda is the 2023 parking study. Christian, do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, there was the parking study that was completed last spring. The data was collected in April and the study itself was finalized in June. So I think your last meeting was in April last year. So you actually haven't had a chance to really talk about this yet at one of your meetings. There's quite a number of recommendations and findings that are part of this study. So I think it would be really beneficial for Parking and Traffic Commission to talk it over and kind of talk about what your kind of priorities are coming out of it, because there's quite a number of recommendations, which ones should get done first, which ones should be lower down the list. I think that'd be very beneficial.
Jim and Gina and Jeff, have you had a chance to read through this at all?
Well, again, to me, it goes back to what does the mayor want from us on this? I mean, you know, for us to sit here and give our thoughts is kind of a waste of time until we know that's what she wants.
Yeah.
I'm an agent of the mayor and I'm the parking policy coordinator. So I'm trying to make decisions about which of these recommendations to implement first as well. So even though the mayor's not in the room, I think it's very beneficial to me too, for you to tell me which ones you want to get done first, and then I can make sure they're approved by the mayor, but do those things first. So I'm here as well.
Yeah, Jim, have you had a chance to read through it at all?
The full commission study?
Yeah, or the takeaways or
Yeah, I
recommendations.
attended the meeting. I think if we're gonna review the study, I'd like to see the slides before I look at the study.
the slides.
They're
Yeah.
all, Jim, they're all in the study that we were sent. I mean, it is a very good study.
No, I seem to recall that.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking this is I'm wondering if we want to give it another month so that we can all become familiar with it and have our thoughts, cogent thoughts set up so that we can have a conversation about it next month.
Plus, I would like for Jeff to participate because he's the brilliant one on this committee. I'm sorry.
I agree with you.
Well, I can say, having worked with Jason, who led that study, that I haven't gone in detail through it myself, just because I know that it's a good study, and probably what he said was something I would agree with. But I agree, we should get into that in more detail together.
Yeah,
Okay. So I'm proposing we table this till next month, and so we can look at it closely and think about it and.
Christian, if you would like to point out to us what you would like for us to concentrate on when we're reading it, you know, then we'll have answers for you.
Yeah, I did put together like a 2-page kind of summary, like very short, of what they're recommending. Obviously, when you read the study itself, it'll go into more detail, but I can send that out to all of you. It has the page numbers that it's referencing because it's all throughout the study. I'll send that out, and those are the things you can kind of talk about and putting in a ranked order of what to implement first.
Okay,
That's great. I'm looking for my copy of the study. I can't seem to find it, so.
it was at the very beginning of the stuff that Christian sent us.
Yeah.
It's got a huge,
Well, what we got
Email it.
today was the agenda and a graphic.
Yeah, if
It
you
was-
go to, Jim, if you go back to Christian's email, the first email he sent last week,
Oh,
it's one of the links in there. Yeah,
okay. I'll get it.
yeah, to take a look at that.
It's a huge link.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suspect. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that the thing is actually that big, but the link itself, the number of letters that the link has in it is very long.
Right. That's what I mean.
Yes. Okay, let's see. So we'll table that till next month. So updated downtown public parking map review. Okay.
Yeah, I can actually share that to the screen.
Great. Perfect.
So this was something that was recommended as part of the study, but it's a very specific thing, so definitely could still talk about it. So this is the current state of greenfield parking. I tried to do my best to kind of convey this in a way that was as simple as possible, but still providing people with all the information they would need to kind of make decisions about where they want to park in downtown. As you can see, there is quite a different number of colors you have to provide to give the full picture. The parking study has kind of recommended to try and get this simplified, but this is how it is right now. So I was just wondering, this is a pretty far along draft, but I'm wondering if any of you have any recommendations for how it looks. Of course, you can always talk about what is actually the landscape and what it actually looks like, and if there's any changes you think should be made about how much things cost and time limits. But really mostly focusing on this map itself and how it looks and how the public will be interpreting it.
Where will this map be located?
So this map would be located primarily on the city website. Right now, there's a kind of older map that doesn't have quite as much info and it's a little bit harder to read. That's on there. So this would replace that. And then also one of the recommendations from the study was when you hand out a parking ticket or at least a warning, to be handing out a map or at least informational material about parking in Greenfield so the person won't make that mistake again and they'll be able to make a better decision about where to park to either not get a ticket or somewhere that's cheaper so they can feel willing to pay for it.
It looks to me like this map shows that most of the parking is not available to the public. It's all permit parking. And so I'm wondering if those things should not be taken off the map so that it's not confusing the public who is trying to find a place to park.
Right, because this presumably permit holders would have already have an understanding of where they can. Is that true? Or are we making that assumption? That this would be the audience of this map is people who want to do public parking.
Mhm.
That's true.
Yeah, that's a very good point because it was something I was thinking about when I was making this map. I'm like, oh wow, there's going to end up being a lot of yellow on here. There might be a better way to convey it because the thing about permit parking is it's daytime parking, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Those permit spots become available to anyone after 5 p.m. all the way until the morning. So that's something to consider. Maybe, I don't know how I'd portray it visually, but making that clear that there's like a whole lot of parking down in the Miles Street lot. During the day, you can't park there, but in the evening, there should be a lot available to you.
So you could say parking after 5.
Yeah, and
The yellow could be parking after 5.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good way of thinking about it. Yeah, because it's down there just in the text, but
Yeah.
free to park.
Yeah, and then you could have a little, asterisk next to it and say permit during the daytime.
Yeah, because the more important information is that it's free to park after 5 p.m. The less important is like you're saying, the permit, people already understand where they can park during the day.
And the other thing that I have heard that people are really confused about is parking in the garage. Do they have to pay?
Mhm.
This does not make sense to the public, and a lot of people don't understand about Passport and how they would do that. I mean, it's just now pretty confusing.
Yeah, we did finally change the rates for the parking garage. They were $1 an hour. As you can see now, they're 40 cents an hour. And we did put in some signage that explained the new rates and kind of how right now, at least right now, it's Passport only. It is something to be looked into about kind of providing a method of paying to park in the garage that's not Passport, because I agree with you. I think provide as many options as possible. Every other paid space in downtown Greenfield has a kiosk or a meter associated with it.
Right.
the issue was with the parking garage, you might have talked about this at a meeting I obviously wasn't at, but there was kiosks in there that were tied to the gate, and this is kind of a universal truth, it seems, that these kind of gates for parking garages malfunction way too often. And so that was removed and it was made passport only.
Yep, Tagato isn't like a horrible solution.
Yeah, so yeah, there might be a way to have a kiosk that's not in some way associated with a gate, move just a regular kiosk down there, but then our kiosks are based on pay and display. So do you want someone having to go all the way back a couple flights of stairs back up to their car to display it? So it's a fine line to walk, but it's something I'm definitely paying attention to, and I'm keeping an eye on.
So I would say that if a kiosk gives them another option, and that option involves going down to the kiosk or pulling in, getting it, right, driving up, parking, putting on their display,
Mm,
right? Because if they're driving in the same spot and they can, stop for a minute, go to the kiosk, get their ticket, put it on their display, and then drive up, right? But it would give them another option.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, if we place the kiosk right at the entrance.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there was a few different kiosks in there. And there were at various spots, but there was one at the very beginning to give you some specialized ticket, but we could put one there. It's a good idea.
And what the parking garages here are doing is there are places before you go into the garage that you can put your ticket to find out what you owe and pay it there. The catch is the gates here are broken all the time too. So, I don't know what a solution is for a parking garage, but you take your ticket and when you put it in the machine, it reads it and tells you, and you're supposed to pay before you exit the garage.
Yep, Gene, we were just talking about just doing it the same way that the parking lots are done, where
Yeah.
there's a kiosk. You can drive up to it, or there's like a 10-minute parking, there's like a 5-minute parking spot there for people to pull over. Get their ticket out of the kiosk, put it on their dash, drive up to their parking spot, right? So it would be just like a parking, like you do in a regular parking lot. Except you would be doing it rather than getting out of your car, walking over to the kiosk.
Yeah.
And going back, you'd just be doing it on your way up into the garage.
Well, if you paid, but when you got the ticket,
Yeah, exactly.
right, I get that.
Yeah.
Because what they're doing here is not working either.
So, right, and that's just gonna be an option, right?
Yeah.
Because you can still do it with the passport app.
Yeah, right.
So I presume a lot of the people will be doing it with the passport app, and some of it will be doing it at the kiosk.
Right.
And we have to make sure there's a big sign that says this or passport.
But yeah, I mean, that's all well and good. This is on the way in, right?
Yeah,
You want to stand behind somebody who stops the
Yeah.
car, runs out?
yeah, no, we would have to figure that out, Jim, so that would not be the case, but I agree with you. We don't want them clogging up the lane there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there have to be some sort of like a couple spots that we like leave open that are only for when you're getting your ticket. Right? So you pull in there, you get your ticket, you get back in your car and you drive up, right?
Should there be an instructional video on how to install and use Passport?
Oh,
I'm sure Passport probably has them.
I bet they do have one. I don't think that's actually linked anywhere on the city's website currently. I know we link out to the Passport website, but we could skip a step and put the video right on the city website. That's a good idea.
so just because we're talking about the garage, the other thing is that now that there's no gates there, there's no warning thing, right? About a car coming out of the garage. So when the car's coming out of the garage, there's sidewalk there, and pedestrians can't see the car coming out. So they had at one point there was a thing there was like a flashing warning when the car was coming out. it was loud and then would get stuck and then be really loud. And so you can see that. So that right there we go. Nice. You can just make that up. I had done a mock-up of this as an alternative, which is basically exactly what you see right there. See that right there? And you put up a metal gate there, a metal fence, so that people can't walk right across there. They have to walk further out on the sidewalk.
Well, it seems to me that you know, pressure sensors and, you know, something to warn people. All you gotta do is put the pressure sensors back from the street far enough so that when somebody rolls over with their front tires, the alarms go off, you know, so
Yeah,
that keeps people-
Jim, I feel like a stop sign or something there would help too. Now that there's, you know, that there's a stop sign inside the garage there, so that people know that they have to stop as they're coming out for pedestrians. And some, you know, it's just a problem. If you actually are, you know, 4 feet back, there's probably enough time for people to see each other at the speed people should be going.
Okay,
Rather than,
work to do on the.
rather than one more technical system in the garage that's likely to break. It's nice to see that that they put that thing there. Is that still there? I don't think it is.
I don't think so. I remember seeing it there in person at one
Yeah.
point, but it might be gone now.
So we should at least get the DPW to put that back.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Christian, I have some questions about this portrayal.
Sure.
I mean, it's a very clever graphic where the little numbers represent the hours and the outer circles represent what's going on. I'm not sure that I understand whether circles with a lot of orange means there are a lot of permit spaces, or whether, or what, you know.
Yeah, the circles, it's like a percentage, which I do have in the little graphic in the bottom left that says type of parking
Yeah,
percentage. I was trying to figure out how to convey that to people because I think it's important to understand that these lots aren't just all one type of parking. You can park there for different kinds of purposes and have a permit or pay. So yeah, so you're right. It's the more yellow there's more permit parking, but there's also a little bit of paid 50 cents an hour down in the Miles lot.
but
Yeah.
you can, regardless of where there's permit parking, people that don't have permits can still park there and pay on an hourly basis or with passport, right?
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, yeah. If I'm looking at the city hall lot, right?
Mhm.
Well, there are a bunch of permits, but there's also, you know, 50 cent an hour and 30-minute stuff. Well, are they mutually exclusive? In other words, could somebody who wants to go into City Hall for 30 minutes, could they park there? Or is it permit parking only?
Yeah, so there's different sections of the city hall lot that are devoted to each kind of use. So there are a whole bunch of spots in the city hall lot. I think it's 20 something, are devoted just to permit only during at least 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. There's around 10 or 12 that are labeled as 30-minute, and then there's 6 to 8 that are labeled as paid parking 50 cents an hour. So they are mutually exclusive. They're talking about the same spots.
Thank you, good night.
Mhm. Okay.
Small changes I would make, it's a very beautiful map. I would, I'd put 4 HR, for example, or 10 HR on there. It's just easier. Anytime you can save someone from like having to look through the legend and go back, that's a pretty simple thing to do.
Yep.
Similarly with the meters there, just, make those a little bit bigger, say HR. And maybe under in the G, just say no limit. Under the parking garage,
Gotcha.
right?
Yeah, yeah, one of the recommendations from the parking study is to not have these kind of limits, just let people park as long as they want besides, yeah, the on-street meters. So hopefully eventually we won't have to have that information on there, but I agree, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, we've been trying to go Ames Street, I don't know if you noticed. So, yeah, we can talk about that, for that. Let's talk about, let's leave that, let's table that for next month, okay.
But we're tabling a discussion about meters?
We're taking special about our hourly thing, we're tabling discussion about recommendations by the parking study till next month.
Right, okay, yeah.
And I just have one more question about the parking at City Hall. Is there any discussion that maybe the employees at City Hall could park in the parking garage and leave more space for people to park to go to City Hall?
Is that one of the recommendations?
I
I don't know.
think one of the recommendations is talking about where downtown employees park. I don't know if it was talking about city employees specifically, but kind
I
of,
think it mentioned that.
yeah, like utilizing the permit parking and where you place it to kind of keep more advantageous spots open to regular parkers as opposed to people that just park there at 8 a.m. and leave at 5 p.m.
Okay.
So that is something-
Or leave it empty, so I think, yeah, I think that's something we should definitely talk about next month when we talk about the recommendations.
Okay,
Um,
sorry.
Yeah,
By the way, Christian, I couldn't find the report study, the study report.
okay.
I can forward it out again.
Thank you.
Great, so I think this is a great improvement over the old one.
What is a great improvement over?
This map,
Oh, this map, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Let me pull up the old one.
so, and I would say if it's great improvement, put it up there, but I also know that as soon as you put something up there, it might be another 15 years before we update it again.
I don't know why the website is now loading. Oh, there we go. That's the old one.
Great job, Christian, on improving it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, so I do see there's electric vehicle charging on here.
Yeah, that is
This might be a
something
nice thing.
I was looking at. The electric vehicle, and then there's also the label for like emphasizing that there's overnight parking and emphasizing where the motorcycle parking is. I did not include them. Maybe I can, but at a certain point, the map gets very, very busy and it kind of starts diminishing the usefulness if it's something someone looks at and is overwhelmed.
We can do, when I'm teaching, I talk about small multiples, right? So if you have like one big map, right, showing those things, and maybe you have a little inset map with motorcycle parking, right? Because that would just be a little small, once people understand that, right? They can just see like, oh, and here's motorcycle parking, and here's another little square that's like electric charging stations.
Or you use paint in the parking lots to designate.
Oh.
And,
For-
and if every parking lot has motorcycle parking and electric charging, then you just use paint to designate those spots.
Right, but I mean, the map is really for people to be able to find them, right?
The map would be, to me, would be, I'm coming to Greenfield, where is parking?
Yeah. And then, but if, as someone with an electric car, I'm often like, I'm going someplace, where can I charge my car? Right? And having those, going to the city parking for whatever reason, usually I'd probably use an app different app, but it would be nice to have a little bit of that to
Yep.
show.
Yeah, try and find a way that, like, maybe an inset map or some other kind of way, low key way, so it's not overwhelming, but I agree, because that is very important to people, to the electrical vehicles.
And yeah, motorcycling, and it does seem like it is on the other one. I don't know if similarly, if there's a handicap parking spaces that people,
Mm,
you know.
there are
is that cheap?
there are quite a few, so it would get very, very busy, that is very important, though.
And it could be a separate map,
Yeah,
right?
it could be an entirely
It
separate
could be
map.
pretty easy, now that you have this base laid out very nicely, right? It could be pretty easy to make a separate map to just have this one.
But handicap parking, you can park anywhere and just put your handicap sticker.
That's correct.
That's correct.
So why would you worry about doing a separate map?
Yep,
They're designated handicap spaces, and maybe that's, you know, the first place you go.
I think for people that need the van accessible spaces, it's pretty important, because you couldn't get out if there was only one available, so those ones are very important.
Okay,
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Where will these maps be located? I'm wondering whether there are stands with signs that have this map on it, so people, you know, with the "you are here" and they know where the heck they are and where they're going for parking.
I think we could definitely have that is something we could do. I think it's more useful to people. At that point, they're parked. And so it'd be beneficial for them if they're parking somewhere like, oh, I really didn't want to park here. Where else could I park? But on the other hand, at that point, they're not really the target audience for this. This is more people that are looking for a way to park in Greenfield that aren't here yet. But I'd love to have these printed out in a lot of places. That'd be
are
great.
these sent to jurors?
I would definitely, I think they have the old map somewhere on their website, and it's maybe sent out to jurors and their information. So I would definitely, once this is finalized, have that sent over to the courthouse and the transit center too.
but the problem is going to be if it's sent to the jurors, they're going to see the free parking at the library, and that takes all the spaces.
Well, that's another agenda item, which we should maybe move along to.
Yeah,
Okay,
perfect.
Okay,
There is one in between.
so let's just talk quickly about the Four Rivers. So we got an email from the Four Rivers School about a school zone sign request. And I don't know the process for that. Does anybody know the process for getting it is a school. So I propose that we task Christian with getting some information about what that process is and who you talk to.
Yeah.
DPW, is that police?
Yeah, my first inclination would be talk to DPW, to the highway department, and see what kind of process there is. That's I'm just thinking that's not a state highway or anything. That's just a city road, so that makes it simpler. You don't have to go through the state or anything. If it was on 5 and 10 or something like that, it would be the jurisdiction of the state to probably do that. But for us, I think it's a entirely municipal thing, so I'll look into it.
Great. Anybody else have any comments on that? Okay, so the library parking lot. So this is under old business, but
Things have changed.
things have changed, right? So do you want to give us a little update on what's going on there?
Yeah, so the latest on the library parking lot is that it's free to park. There is not any real signage at all. There's obviously handicap spaces, there's electric vehicle spaces, there's carpool spaces, those are all labeled. But other than that, there is nothing. It's free. Anyone can park there for as long as they want. There was an original plan to have it be paid, but then that was switched over to having it be free. So I guess it's up to you guys to discuss. I have been keeping track of how many people are parked there. And during the kind of peak hours for downtown parking, which is kind of the 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., that's when all the people that work 9 to 5, they're seeing their clients. That's as well as when people are shopping. Everything kind of comes to a peak at that time. That Y is 100% full. People are pulling into it and going in circles looking for spots to try and get into the library. And there's just nothing. So that is something to note.
Um,
Well, that's a toughie.
so there are some potential solutions, right? We can start charging, right? Put up a have it be Passport, have it be a kiosk. And there could be, I believe there is a Passport has some sort of functionality to get people to be if they went into the library, they could potentially get their put in the code that would then make it free. Which might be if the goal is to have parking for people going to the library to be free, which it wasn't before.
You mean library patrons?
Library patrons.
Yeah, now, I guess some patrons, they may go to the library and then disappear and do other things.
Yeah.
But it seems to me that if we're talking about library use, then, there's maybe 15 minutes free if you're just going in and out picking up something. But we have Passport, and I'm wondering whether we can't adjust the rates via Passport and have a two-tier system. One tier includes the employees and the other tier is for the rest of us.
Yeah, that sounds complicated, Jim. But so
Nobody said this stuff was going to be easy. You know?
so let's start with the first question. Should the library parking lot be free? Is there any reason that we feel the library parking lot should be free?
Under what circumstances? Free all day? Free to go in and pick up, just come and go? I mean,
So like 15-minute spots?
yeah,
Sure.
I mean, I think, 15-minute spots are pretty reasonable,
Something like that, okay?
but it's sort of hard to enforce.
There were 15-minute spots at the old library.
Yep.
And I was on the building committee for the library, and we were supposed to have, I don't remember how many parking spaces, but they were cut by Tim Dolan when he was on the council, and the building commission, the Massachusetts Building Commission gave us permission to cut the spots. And now we've given away spots to the bank. And so it was always supposed to be.
We have done that?
No.
That
No,
is-
okay. According to Christian, our parking liaison, we have not yet done that.
Okay, well, my understanding was it had been done, so I'm wrong. But in all cases, it was always supposed to be a public lot that was going to be paid parking, that we always had that agreement with the state. So if we don't want it to be a paid lot, we're going to have a problem with people parking there who don't belong there.
Or, I mean, I feel like it's a lot's a lot, right?
Yep,
It's parking downtown, a lot's a lot.
right.
I think that not so much people don't belong there, just that it's always going to be full. And if somebody actually wants to be able to go to the library and park there, they have a less chance of doing that because it's free. So more people are going to start using that versus other lots.
Right. And perhaps we could put spaces in front of the lot, in front of the library that are the 15-minute spaces.
Yeah.
Like they were before.
Yeah.
And maybe-
My proposal would be to make the Chapman Davis lot free, make the library lot paid, move the kiosks from the Chapman Davis lots into the library lots so that we could have a kiosk there, and maybe one into the library lot and one into the parking garage.
There is a kiosk that's already was associated with the library lot.
No,
In the press release, that was when announcing the library lot to be free. Said something about repurposing it for potentially another location, but as far as I know, it's still currently sitting in storage.
so I do feel like people like having a free play. I do feel like there's a psychological benefit to people feeling like there's a place I can go and I can park for free. And they're just not just Greenfield trying to suck every penny out of me. Right? You know those people are out there and that's what they're feeling. And I know now that so we want to make sure we want to make, the primary goal of this parking system is to make sure that there is space for people to park and people to do business downtown in a reasonable manner. And it's not just a tax system. It's a mechanism for us to make parking work effectively.
Yes,
One issue with that or benefit is right now the only free parking is on-street parking a certain distance from downtown, which I know that residents aren't crazy about on those streets. So to let a surface lot absorb some of that might take some pressure off the on-street parking for the people that live along those streets.
Yeah.
well, having lived on those streets in my past life, you're never happy with people parking on your street. But if you live close to downtown, that's one of the things that happen. So I don't think we can absolve the city of people's anger about people parking on their street.
But I think Jeff's point was that if we made the Chapman Davis lot free,
Oh,
so
yeah.
first of all, it would help somewhat, and it would also help with the if we were making the library lot cost money when we said it was free now, it would help politically. I think it would help be able to make the library lot cost money,
Yep,
right?
yep,
If we make another lot free.
right.
I think that, we're talking about people who park at the library lot as if they're, a single segment, and they aren't. There are people that go to the library just to run in and run out. There are people who go to the library and they may stay for a while. And then there are people that are using the library lot for other purposes. And it's the people who are using it for other purposes that I think ought to be paying for it. The people that are dashing in and dashing out, that ought to be free. That can be covered by the 15-minute things. And I also think some signage that tells people why we're doing this.
Yeah, but Jim, I will say that I think we should disassociate thinking about the library lot as being for the library.
Right,
It's just adjacent to the library and was built at the same time as the library, right? It's for the people who are downtown doing activity.
and my understanding is that the people who work at the library get free parking. Is that not true? Do we want to continue that?
I have no idea.
The people that work at the library.
Yeah.
Right now, there's a section of the lot that's kind of all the way right behind the library, as basically as far from the door as possible. And I believe that's where they are parking. the library employees. That's where they're parking at this time.
So I think that's a question. I think it should be, it could be that there are some spots that are. Yeah, I don't know. So anyway, we should consider that. I think
It all needs to be discussed more totally, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And so I think, but I do think that I do think that having the library lot be free, be the only free lot in town is not going to be a viable long-term option.
I agree.
By the way, I don't know that you can see this. This is a City Hall parking permit. And I'm wondering if we could issue these to the library staff.
I do not think that, library staff are city employees, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know that they are necessarily any different than any other city employee, and we should think of them any differently.
yeah, because all their city employees are issued a regular parking permit, just like everyone else uses to park in the permit spaces. That's what I get.
And the question is, are there going to be permit spaces in the library lot?
So yeah, what's the mix of spaces in the library lot is a question we should be thinking about, and how.
Right.
Yeah, so let's, I think we should continue to think about this, and we can put it on the agenda for next week as well, next month as well, but I do think by first cracking the nut of here's what the parking study is recommending and figuring out how that plays into the library lot, et cetera, would be a good way to go.
Right. I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we should, it seems like we're over time here, so we should probably move along. Square parking, we could, unless there's anything specifically timely you want to talk about on that, maybe we should think about that for next month.
Okay.
Okay. Any requests for agenda items for next meeting?
No, but I think it would be helpful if you put together the agenda. I'll put together the notes from this thing.
Yeah, Christian has agreed to put together the agenda and send it out.
Oh.
Yeah, I put it together, run it by
Yeah,
Sebastian, send it out to everyone else.
so that will be much better for me.
Yep, I make sure it's on the city website 48 hours in advance, of course.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Motion
we
to
have a-
adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Gee, yes, what?
Gene seconding, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.